welcome. We have a full grocery store today. I'm very excited to have you all here. We are going to start out with our featured artist, Hans Gilsdorf. Now, as many of you know, Hans needs no introduction. He is very well known, but I didn't realize before this interview quite how far that reach went. And so a week ago, Hans doesn't know I'm going to say this. A week ago, my daughter were narrowing down all the stuff in her room to give it more space. And she has only 2 things that she wants on her wall. And they have to be framed, and they can't cover signatures. And one of the things is a poster signed by the Championship World Cup women's team. And then the second thing is art that she did that is signed by Hans Gilsdorf, or as she said, the great, wonderful, and famous artist. So we know Hans Gilsdorf. So now that we've set the stage, we have it working for it. Yep, it's good.
It's on backwards.
Yep, you're good.
It's forward now. Okay.
Awesome.
Oh, that's pretty cool. That wow, bucket list check. I love it. That just made my day.
Yes, very specific. Don't cover up the signature in any way.
No.
So we will have that, right? So now a lot of people have seen your art within the community, but your career with art goes all the way back to the movies, right? Do you want to start us with a little bit of information and background of your career?
Yeah, so my art career started actually when I was a little kid. I had a fascination with, as my mom said, coloring within the lines and being very particular with that. But then I just loved art, going to galleries, and I always had a passion for motion pictures and special effects. I grew up watching Godzilla movies and monster cinema and vampire movies and stuff like that as a kid on Saturday mornings. And that just kind of turned into a career within motion pictures, where I just, coming out of a Billy Joel concert at ASU, Arizona State University, and my roommate and I, we saw that they were filming a movie called Campus Man, and a real cheesy film. And we were like, let's go check it out. So we went down there and we were like, well, let's just walk on set. How do they know them between us and students, you know? So we walked down there and the guy caught us and he says, are you guys extras? And we're like, yes, we are. And so that started my film career. We got to be in a scene with Morgan Fairchild, which I think that probably dates a bunch of us that probably remember her, but we thought that we were pretty cool. But then from that, I just started asking questions and like, how do I get into this? How do I break into this, film career? And I started with the Scenic Shop, and we started doing sets for the Dick Van Dyke Studios, HBO, and just kind of weird things. And so my job started off as painting blue screens. I mean, basically like painting a blue wall that, we all know the green screen effect. And it just started from there as apprentice, and then I just started moving up the chain of command and just asking questions, working hard, 18, 20 hours a day sometimes on some of the movies, and eventually started working with Jim Henson and the Muppets on the Ninja Turtle movies as a head turtle painter. And then I did stunts in the movie Glory and then sets for Young Guns 2, and it just kind of grew for about 7 years, and then got burned out on that, and because you start having family, having kids and birthday parties, things you're missing because you're on the road all the time. And I said, there's got to be more to life than this, and I'm more of a homebody. And so then I ended up working at the Phoenix Zoo, creating a series of life-size sculptures for the visually impaired. That gave the opportunity, because we all know like what a cheetah is. This is one of the ladies we worked with, a bunch of visually impaired people, to kind of learn what we needed to create in order to give them the full experience. And she said, I can read everything there is about a cheetah, but I don't know what a cheetah is. I can't see it stretch. I can't see it yawn. I can't see it run. I know all the facts. So that was our inspiration to then, how do we create an exhibit to give other people a tactile experience to learn all about the wildlife that we take for granted, So you just, all of a sudden, I found this path of where I'm at now with art is, you find a need and you fill it. You find an answer to it. And then that led to being a master sculptor at Dean Museum Services in Minneapolis, where Mary Beth and I, luckily we both got job offers on the same day, which is crazy. She's an industrial engineer at the time. She was going to Sheldall and Northfield, and I was going to North Minneapolis, and then sculpting full-size dinosaurs that were taller in this building, and doing exhibits all over the country. And And then we moved up here and started designing children's hospitals. And yeah, so it's just been kind of a checkered past, as you'll see with the artwork that I brought up, trying to bring a range of just, what do you do? I don't know. I have fun. Yeah.
Well, that leads me into my next question.
Oh boy.
So anyone who knows Hans knows that he brings an innate sense of play to anything that he does. But you also told me that you have kind of this philosophy in life of saying yes to things.
Yes.
And I'm really curious how those two things work together and inform your art.
Well, yeah, I have 3 guiding principles, and I kind of, with my daughter getting married, 4. But so in motion pictures, I was told, you just say yes. You be a jack of all trades, a master of few, and that's how you're going to find work. And so by saying yes, I found that, whether or not you don't think you have time, even if somebody says, do you want to get a cup of coffee, say yes, because you don't know what that's going to lead to. You don't know where things, by saying yes, will expose you to. Like Amy, when you had said, hey, do you want to do an ice palace? I'm thinking like those little blocks of ice at the liquor store. We get a 12-pack of beer, we can stack something, make an American doll-sized palace, sure. And and I said yes. The next thing you know, you learn more about it, and you learn more about your community, and you learn more about what Detroit Lakes is. And then there's let's see, what was it? It was say yes, and then there's power in showing up. And that's also say yes, but then show up, like all of you showed up. This is power of being engaged, being part of the community, learn about the community, but then showing up for 12 projects, and the volunteers that I see here today they show up, they create cool things, and that's what is showing up. There's power in that, and I tell that to students, there's power in showing up at class and learning. And then also, my other one that I learned from films was being on the inside of the fence, and that was, I was working on a movie set, we're doing a graveyard scene, and putting up extra headstones and stuff like that. And I looked outside and there's all these people on the outside of the fence. And I was like, wow, I'm on the inside making magic happen. This is kind of cool. I'm not out there wondering what's going on in here. And so that's where I see a lot of faces here today. I know are people who are on the inside of the fence. They're making things happen for our community. And by being on the inside, you're the one making the magic happen. And I think that's really empowering. And because you said yes, you showed up and you're making the magic happen. And then the other 4th one is, just give a lot. So give time, give of yourself, help out, lend a hand, type of things, and yeah.
And has saying yes, we learned with the Ice Palace, it's influenced your art. Has that influenced your art in other ways?
No. Oh, God, I meant to say that. Well, the Ice Palace, like a lot of things, I like trying new things, because it's like you try to expand and learn your horizons, expand your horizons and meet new people and a lot of collaborations and stuff. And it's more fun. So with the Ice Palace, I had never worked with ice in my life. I had never sculpted ice. I didn't know you could carve it. I see it at the buffets and stuff like that. And you're like in weddings, you're like, oh, that's a cool swan. But, it's like I never thought of myself actually grabbing a chainsaw. And then you find out through our community that Eric Rotter, who lives over on Lake Sally, who we've known, who was a champion ice sculptor, he's like, yeah, come on over, we'll get some blocks of ice, we'll just carve. I was like, what? So next thing you know, here's a new medium that I'm working with, and then you're teaching kids to sculpt snow. And it's just, I like to explore new mediums, and like, if you all, this is gonna be fun for me, if you all look to your right, so there's a painting over there of a psycho clown, and I only designed it because it was right before Halloween. But so it's a new technique I stumbled upon through an artist, Sue Mooney, who did the sailboat sculpture at Stoneman Law Office, and she does abstract art with really cool colors. But she had these. We were down there. We saw her at the Northrop King building. She had an open house studio, and she goes, "Put these glasses on. Check out my painting." And the whole thing turned 3-dimensional, and it's called chroma depth. And so I've been intrigued by that for years, and then finally I've been working on these sprite sculptures for Orton Stone, and I'm like, okay, how do I get my head back into painting? And I've been working with gray clay for 5 months. Let's have some fun. So I'm going to take a couple weeks and just do these things. Sorry, Mary Beth, you get a clown in the house, but besides me. And then, and so anyway, so the principle of chroma-depth is we all see the rainbow left to right, or right to left, you know, the Roy G. Biv, red, orange, yellow, green, blue. Well, what it does is it turns it towards you. So the reds come forward, the blues recede. And so by painting, so I have to paint for a little bit, put the glasses on, take them off, paint. It turns a two-dimensional image into three-dimensional. And so it's just one of those weird, kind of funky things. So I thought, okay, how can I push this to make an image more three-dimensional and whatever? And it's just, sometimes I have to play. Sometimes you just have to go out and goof around and just do something to, you know, see what happens.
All right, now I'm going to give everyone else an opportunity for questions. Who has questions?
Did I suck up all your question time?
I have one more. All right.
Why are we whispering? We have microphones.
What was your involvement with the Muppets?
I did not actually work with the Muppets. I worked with the Muppeteers. With Ninja Turtles, the first one, which is filmed in Coralco Studios in Wilmington, North Carolina, I was a head turtle repair painter, so the suits, I had to do 16 suits a day. So we had 8 turtles, so there's actually 4 turtles. So there's 4 mechy turtles, we call it. They have the robotics in the head, which have the robotics behind their shells. So their eyes, their mouths moved, and all the stuff that the puppeteer created around the actor that was on the inside. And we had 4 stunt turtles. And so the stunt turtles, they mouth wouldn't move, everything was more padded because they did all the stunt fighting. And so I worked with the puppeteers. So the funniest thing with that, you'd come into the studio and, you know, we'd have the 4 turtle heads. You know, there's Leonardo, Michelangelo, Donatello, and Raphael. And all of a sudden they'd start, you know, the mouth would start moving because they'd start to rehearse what they're gonna have to be doing for that next scene. And I'd be in there painting, and I would also hear the Count Dracula do 1 turtle head, because that's the puppeteer who did the Count for Sesame Street. And then one guy comes in and he did all the voices for the cows and the weird little secondary characters in the Muppets. And so you worked with this whole cast, and it was just amazing. And then the guy who did the voice for Splinter the Rat was Nash, who did the voice for Elmo. And so all of a sudden you hear him crack into Elmo's voice, and this was before Elmo existed, so you hear him practicing new voices, and you're like, and so when I heard Elmo for the first time, I'm like, dude, that's the rat. Right? So, and then one day I was in there by myself, and also I heard Kermit the Frog, and I turned around, and that was Jim Henson. Yeah, so I had a one-on-one moment, and Jim Henson was like, what? You know, and he comes up, I haven't met you. I'm like, I want to know you. But yeah, it was really cool. So that was my experience with the Muppet and Sesame Street. So we had a team from England and New York. So we had Sesame Street from New York, Muppets from England, because Muppets were based in England. So we had the American English team. Yeah. Oh, one question, that's good.
I have an idea. I have a question.
Oh,
Yeah.
what?
So, dream big, Hans. What would be the next cool Hans Gilsdorf art piece that we'd have in Detroit Lakes?
Just for you, a clown that's 30 feet
So he sends me a text to that clown. I'm like, oh gosh, no.
tall.
It's really cool. The concept is really cool.
Yeah, for the next big community project, it like I said, it's called just saying yes, showing up and talking and seeing what happens and seeing what gets inspired. There's a lot of great potential. We've talked about different sculpture ideas, we've talked about different mural concepts, we've talked about different things, but community projects, it's just one of those things where it's just say yes and see what happens. I mean, that's where great things have always come from, is people come together and just throwing ideas out on the table and see what bites and see what kind of connects, and then the energy is what creates other people to join on board. Like the Ice Palace is a great example of, we went to meetings, we went to the city, we went to everybody, and they just said an ice palace, what do you mean? And you had to describe this concept that was so vague, that was created in Minneapolis or Europe or wherever, and then to persuade people, and then to just have, as we call ourselves, Ignorant Optimist Club, because we have no idea what we're doing, but we're optimistic we're gonna make it happen. And it's just by surrounding ourselves with great people, and that was kind of like, Another theory I've always kind of believed is like the donut theory. It's like I'm like the little blank space in the middle, but surround yourself with this incredible donut, and then you need something, you take a bite out of that side, and maybe you get a sprinkle here and a little chocolate coating here, glaze here. Because that's the people who are around me that I surround myself with, is successful people who just want to make cool stuff happen. I had to pause there because I know it. But I think that's the success of what this community is everybody wants to be a part of that donut, and everybody likes to be these sprinkles and the glaze and the chocolate that make these things incredible. And that's the success of why Detroit Lakes is so successful and so popular, and we do incredible things. It's just people come together and make it happen.
I have one good question.
Oh,
I'm known
This is my
as
sister.
Hans's sister in town. I'm not Erica Gilsdorf. I am Hans's sister. So anyway, seriously, tell us about how, because I like how parents can influence youth and art and kids, and how mom and dad influenced you with how they made your desk. And you can even throw that you stole my Holly Hobby light set.
The truth is out.
That was a light board. I did not know about light boards. Yeah, so well, my mom always had, she was an extensive reader, and she was a weaver, spinner. So she was always immersed within that field of the creativity, the crafts, and the arts. And they surrounded us, our family growing up, with other artists in Minneapolis growing up, and Doug Clow and everybody who were kind of these hippies. We went to pig roasts and we did weird things. We learned about spiked watermelon when I was probably 5 years old. I did not know that you could put vodka in watermelon. Did you know that?
Life lesson.
It takes you places. But anyways, and our dad was he was a doctor, but outdoorsman, adventurer, practical joker. Just made us do things so we weren't on the TV. We weren't, we were always out exploring, doing things, and he had crafts. And I remember one day he had like this rubber mold, and he poured plaster into it, and he created like a little zebra sculpture. And I was like, wait, what? He mix water with that, and it becomes that. And I'm like, so I just had these moments, and then he let me do lead soldiers. So I'm melting lead in my bedroom. Might explain why I'm a little slow. I'm making lead soldiers growing up, because I was like, I can melt lead, pour it in, and voila, I got a Scots Gray cavalry from the 1815. This is cool. And then, but they supported me in everything I did, and they supported all of us with what we wanted to do. It wasn't like you have to be a doctor, you have to be a lawyer. They supported us with it. And being an artist, they saw what my passion was, and they pushed for it. And my dad, one summer when I was really at my bottom, because with arts, it's like a roller coaster. You're gonna have more downs than you do up. Like right now, I'm gainfully unemployed. So I'm making weird clown pictures. But one summer he gave me a check for $500 just to say, just here's money to just keep you in front of the canvas, keep you in your studio, keep you busy. And he's the one that gave me the rules. I was kind of like a typical mischief kind of young guy. And he sat me in the studio, and he's just like firm. He goes, you're gonna sit here for 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Whether you create anything or stare at the ceiling, it's up to you. And so it kind of set me straight to where I have to be productive, because Meredith and we always say, like, we eat what we kill. That's what I do. If I'm not producing, I'm not making things, and I'm not selling things, or I'm not out, producing. But so you had this decision. It's like either I can be in the studio staring at the ceiling and wasting my time, or I can be in the studio and draw or paint or sketch. So a lot of times I am sketching, doodling, doing stuff, and maybe a concept will come from some of that. And right now, like, I'm exploring this chroma depth art, just for something for my mind to just have some fun and some play and goof around with.
All right, well, one last question. Aside from commissioning a creepy clown, which people can probably totally do, how can we as a community support you?
By supporting the arts. It's just not me, there's a lot of artists around here. And I think just by supporting the different artists and supporting public art, creating public art, getting murals, getting, whether it's trucks and tunes or poetry, like Meredith, she does the poetry walks and the poetry, which is coming up, Poetry for Polar Fest. So I think by just supporting the arts helps supports everybody, more so. Of course, we can always say, well, buy my art, commission me. That goes without saying, but I think just by supporting the arts, getting more out there, people then will engage and want more art to be a part of their world and their community.
All right, well, thank you, everyone. Let's give them a big round of applause. Zach, Paige, and Ryan Pesch with MANNA Food Co-op. Let's give them a warm welcome.
Hi.
Hey. Morning.
Well, thank you both for being here. I am astounded at what this space looks like. I think of our dinner that we had here, and sorry, but the creepy bathroom. I mean, I walked in there, and that was just transformation.
They're better now.
It was
They're better,
amazing.
yeah.
It was. So I'm really curious. Tell us, where did MANNA start?
Well, you know, really, the co-op grew out of the farmers market, right? So we always give credit. Wendy Gordon at the time was the Ecumen food service director. She's always like this constant person at the farmers market. And like, you know, if anyone knows Wendy, she's a spiritual person, right? So she had a download.
She was here last night.
She was here last night, yeah, we're talking. She's like, I had this vision, we got to start a co-op. And it kind of, for her, it sort of, I think, grew out of the farmer's market. Like, she was such a standby, and she's like, well, you guys will then have a place to sell all year round. I mean, at the time, I sold at the farmer's market for 16 years. I don't know, when was that? That was 2015. And myself, it was kind of food co-ops that got me into the food business to begin with, right? So those of you that don't, I think most people know I'm a vegetable grower. Now I'm a vegetable grower, farmer, or grocer, I guess, but when I was 19, I stepped foot in the St. Peter Food Co-op, and I was like, wow, this is kind of neat. There were people are making change on Main Street by operating a business, right? It wasn't just a regular, everyday grocery store. I always got to explain, it is a grocery store, but it's not an everyday grocery store kind of thing. And so it's like, these people are trying to make a difference by how they're running their business, right? It smells different. It is a group of people that were committed to something greater, right? You could find the milk from 2 counties over and the tomato that was grown down the road kind of thing. And so that kind of impressed me. I ended up getting into, if you don't know, I give long answers to simple questions. This is typical of me. Long story short, Wendy kicked it off, and having had that experience as I did, that's what got me into farming. That's what got me worked 4 years at Mississippi Market in St. Paul. I was like, sign me up, Wendy. Sure, let's do this thing. Wouldn't that be neat if we could pull that off, right? So it's kind of channeling Hans there. Like, was it stupidly ignorant or no? What? Optimistically ignorant. Okay, yeah, it was one of those things. Like, well, okay, well, let's give this a whirl. Maybe this will happen. And that's from there. That led us to Highway 34 and a couple iterations since.
Okay, and then one thing I'm really interested in is, over the years, I've gotten the opportunity to watch MANNA scale through all your different iterations. Can you tell us about that? Like, how you decided at each one that you were ready for the next leap, so to speak?
I'll start at, well, Zach here, jump in. How did we know? Well, there was a moment on 34 where I think I came to the board, I'm just like, if we stay here, we are out of business in about 3 months, right? It's one of those moments. So it's sort of like, well, we better do something different, okay? So that one was an easier one. Although I will say, the pandemic saved us, right? We all couldn't go out to eat, and it forced everybody to go to a grocery store. Remember these moments during the early part of the pandemic? So just random people who didn't even know a co-op existed found us. So it wasn't all bad, but we had already made that decision, like, it ain't gonna work here, folks. And had already started to move here to 823. And I think our decision was a little bit different from going from 823 Washington to here, in that I think it was more of well, our lease is coming up, and there's one thing you know about a 5-year lease is that they will get more expensive the next 5 years, something like that. So we knew that, and we also knew, like, this place isn't gonna get any bigger. And Mari's like, I got everything down to single facings, and now we're like stuffing things. You felt like your grandma's closet or something. You're like stuffing things, like, hey, can you carry this? Well, maybe if I stuff it down here on the floor kind of thing. And so you knew that there was just that real limitation. And we grew very, very well down here at 823. I mean, it was really, really, really a good move.
And so we got to the point where we're like, hey, here's this building that's open. Do we do it or not? Right? And it's not too often that a Main Street building that's a kind of an appropriate size for a bigger store, but not so big, right? Like if we moved into a Kmart, it wouldn't work. Like if there's an empty Kmart, you're like, well, we'll fit up this little corner over there. That would be weird, you know? So how often do these turn over, you know? So the decision, at least in my mind, was like, well, I don't know, I guess we just re-sign up for the 5-year lease and just wait another 30 years until another family decides to move a piece of real estate, or we do this thing. So I was ignorantly optimistic once again, and we said, let's do this. So, yeah.
Yeah, so to reiterate what Brian was saying about like, we hadn't moved that first time, and I think the pandemic, in a lot of ways, like I've got a seed company, and a few things we've seen like people kind of shift, you know, there's some kind of shift there where people are looking more towards local foods that really gave us that bump. That moment was like right before the pandemic, and also like with the seeds and everything locally grown and sustainable, people are focused a little bit more on that. So that really helped us, and we rode that wave, so to speak, into profitability into the other store. Just to reiterate what I was saying about Wendy too, and also what MANNA is, like we say like grocery store with a mission, so we might put that like maybe up here. We're talking about adding some art and other things to the store and the walls, but that could be a good summation of what MANNA is, what grocery in the co-op is. We've got a mission statement, we're working with the community, everybody owns a share literally of the business, so it's this cooperation effort, and it couldn't do it without everybody and Detroit Lakes' support. I was gonna say something too about moving, but no, I forgot. Yeah, I'll remember. Yeah, I guess like knowing grocery, like Ryan's been in grocery, like I've worked in the rural grocery space in the University of Minnesota Extension. I help rural grocery stores, so I've been to like dozens of grocery co-ops and whatnot, and part of like the reason here is like, yeah, exactly what Ryan's saying, like we've got an Aldi down the street. That, you know, we got a little dip there that year. I think that was 2021. So we're, you know, it's a competition. We're a for-profit grocery as well. And we did pretty well on Main Street. It's a really good visual space. People could see us walk down Main Street. It's great for the co-op, great for Detroit Lakes. And then so we're kind of keeping that same vibe of like we're downtown, but we probably couldn't be so big because we've got Central, we've got Aldi, we've got Walmart. So, and then we could talk about how we're keeping our prices low and all that, and another question, but yeah.
All right. Now, one thing I find really interesting is, so like Hans with his art, he doesn't stop at the art piece, he builds all this community behind it. And I feel like MANNA does a really great job of building community around the food. Like the grocery co-op store is a great thing, but then you also do a lot to build community. Can you tell us some of the interesting ways that you do that and how you're looking to do that, like with your commercial kitchen and things like that?
Yeah, so yeah, the commercial kitchen was a grant, RFSI grant. So that really helped. That was like what, like 1/3 about the cost, or a little bit more actually. So that was an idea, and working with rural grocery and food hubs. You know, how long have you worked in Extension? 26 years?
22 years.
22 years in Extension and doing food systems, and I'm kind of new to the game, but we're both working in the space at University of Minnesota Extension, learning about food systems and how food hubs work and how they don't work. I don't know if you've heard like the Fergus Falls, like they're trying a food hub, they're trying food hubs in different places. But food hubs, sometimes the idea is so big and then it's not based in like the actual reality of how many producers are actually out there. So we're building a kitchen here for local producers that we know. Like we know Bjorn Solberg at Hughes Gardens bringing in the potatoes. We're gonna be making and processing locally produced products for schools and hospitals and bulk products. So it'll be like a local food processor, and then also just like all the connections that we made throughout the years, like the meal kits program with White Earth, and any good ideas. Like if anybody brings a good idea to the board, and our, everybody on the board, Steve's here, so Steve, that, always connecting back to the community.
Well, like I said, in terms of the history, I mean, this grew out of a farmer's market, right? And so, I mean, to some degree, it's sort of that community angle with the growers is sort of already built in, And I was thinking it's like a bit of a misnomer. I mean, the world of co-op, for like Joe Public, there's a couple of things that they're always wrong about. They always think we're a glorified farmer's market, one. Now I was like, no, it's a grocery store and we do local, right? So we're not exclusively local, it's not like we're setting up here. I still do farmers markets, I love farmers markets. And it's also the whole notion that you need to be a member to come in, right? So it's sort of like, no, we're not exclusive in that way, right? I mean, it is open for all of the community. But the part about kind of building community around it, so there's the community of growers, so probably about, we have 40 odd local people within 100 miles that sell here in the co-op, right? And then we've got Nikki right here who sells here on the Tuesdays. 11 to 1, right there, okay? And so there's that community aspect, but I think there's also the part about kind of how do we cooperate with the community more widely, and how you sort of build community around the store and the development of the store, right? And I always think about sort of like members and the co-op. It's sort of like it's really on a spectrum, right? There's some people who like show up here like once a year and like buy a fresh tomato, and that's fine. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't feel that as like very community. It's not terribly community oriented. You raise your right hand at the door and say, oh well, I pledge to support local, and I'm just here to get a tomato, kind of. I mean, it's not like, but on the other end are like, I mean, Zach mentioned my day job. Like I quit my day job. That was kind of a big thing for me after 22 years, just to be a grocer farmer. And so for me, it's kind of a big deal, right? And so across that spectrum, we have a lot of different folks involved, right? And so we obviously have our board members who are much more engaged than like the random one-time-a-year customer. And then we have some folks that are sort of like super customers for whom it's just like, well, this is an important place for them, right? They're hanging here like, I don't know, 45 minutes a day. If Eugene and Steve are sitting here an hour and a half a day drinking coffee, they're like, it's an important stop for them. You know what I'm saying? But there's also board members for whom they're making a difference, right? It's an important thing that they can see. You can see visually an impact, right? Because it's obviously physically right here. My one point in the world, I always say in the world kind of community building is, very much nowadays we feel as if we moved some pixels around and we made a difference kind of thing. And it's kind of a mirage in that way, right? A lot of people are like, I spend my life moving pixels around, and people pay me to move the pixels around, and then I pay somebody else to move other pixels around, and it all gets very unreal. And that, I think, for people that are most involved in the co-op, it is very real, right? You can hit this thing. And I think in this day and age, that's meaningful. Further down this spectrum, we have members who are just like, my friends Cleo, Ruth right here, I'm seeing, like, there's like, I love the co-op, I just want to give time to do it. Or Annie Campbell unloads trucks for free. Like, what? You're just going to show up and unload the trucks for free? Who does that, right? But there's something about that mission. Like, we're doing something that has an impact. Certainly, like Jack and I are talking about, in terms of up and down the supply chain, in terms of like who we're buying from. I guess that's important for some. But for others, it is that there is this business on a main street that's making an impact on Main Street. And it's owned by the people of the community, and that's meaningful. So it's kind of, I think, a vehicle by which people make meaning in what oftentimes in the 21st century seems kind of not meaningful, right? We're sort of like adrift. And so again, maybe that's for me. For me, it's very much that. And again, for, I don't know, 40% of the people that walk in here are just like, yeah, I hear that you sell supplements. Or, 40% come in, it's like, I guess you sell local corn, maybe, or something. So it doesn't preclude any of that. Anybody can still do that, and I can still find it very meaningful. Those who are most engaged are finding like this is a very, very meaningful thing that we are all doing together. And I think it's that togetherness that kind of builds the community, if you will.
Yeah. And
Here, I'm just gonna move this.
Oh,
to do it in your art.
yeah.
Talks with his hands.
Yeah.
I also talk with my hands. Yeah,
All right. Sorry,
that
just
was
safety.
yeah.
I would just add the amazing diversity of our board members over the years. You could see the different kinds of projects that we've gotten into because of the different assets, the different skills along the way, like of moving here, just all the different kinds of contributions that everybody probably here has given in one way or another. And if you shop here, that's another contribution. I was going to say one. I'm forgetting.
All right, we're gonna open it up to questions. Who has a question?
What have we got?
And questions about co-ops too.
Yeah,
I'm
anyway.
curious about that.
Well, this isn't really a question, but I'm sure that many share the same feeling, but over and over again, I just feel so grateful living in Detroit Lakes that has this to offer the community. I remember when we first moved back here in the early 2000s, there's a farmer's market and a lot of fast food places to go. And when you can stop in, you have 10 minutes to pick up a smoothie, nice healthy lunch to go or a bowl of soup, and then have all this fresh food to choose from that you can feel good about bringing home to your family and physically feel good. And then also supporting the local growers. Thank you so much for all the work that you and everybody has done on this. It's great.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
And
Yeah.
hope it keeps continuing.
Thanks. Yeah, I think our produce is one of the top things that brings people into the store. If you are a member, and we're going to start like a member drive. If you're not a member yet, one of the benefits of being a member is 10% off all produce every day. So that's something that we're encouraging, like community health, cooking, and Brian's producing like half the produce in the summer at Lyda Farm. We're also buying from a bunch of other farmers as well. But yeah, thanks. The other point I remembered is a meeting place, right? Like we're a physical location, and just like 2 days ago, I think maybe it was Tuesday, just sitting right here and meeting up with some old friends. Like, where does that happen now? It's getting less and less. So this is, we encourage, as we move forward in this space, to have community meetings, just hanging out with your friends here and getting to know the co-op and some local producers, and seeing if you want to use the kitchen. We've got just sent out in the newsletter, we'll have it up on our website at some point, like an inquiry form about potentially using the kitchen. So we wanted to use it for food entrepreneurs, producers, education, and we'll get that program rolling. But it's also a shared kitchen, so if you want to just make your own tomato sauce or whatnot. And that's the unique thing about the kitchen in the store, is that you can make your tomato sauce, we'll get you food license, and if it's a good fit, we can get that product sold in the store, which is unique because there's not a lot of commercial kitchens around that actually have a shared use component. And this is built specifically for that. So just wanted to mention that.
Ms. Schiffner had a question.
Kelly?
Kelly was a board member.
Mine is a question and a comment. I just want you to maybe touch on one of the things about when, becoming a member, it's made me become part of a bigger community that you don't really think would exist with a grocery store, because I don't feel that way if I go to Walmart and say whatnot. But I think tides are turning these days to make healthy lifestyle changes, and one of those big things is knowing where your food comes from. So if you would want to talk or touch on the piece of how you're educating the community about your local producers and farmers that you do support.
I mean, that's just been something we've been doing for a while, right? I mean, I think one thing that that captures people's, not captures their imagination, that's not the right phrase, but we've always had these little signs. You see these signs, we're going to stick them up on that wall or stick them around, but these little blue signs that feature some of our local vendors and our local suppliers, I think that really, that's one part of it. Another part of it is, I mean, a lot of people remember these meal kits. Zach and I did these as volunteers, kind of like in our spare time. I don't know if we have a lot of spare time, but we did it.
We were like lining up the hallway with meal kits.
Yeah.
And just like volunteering like from 5 to 9 p.m. packing them.
We got kind of punchy a few nights, I think, but we did, but that was one other way, right? Like, hey, somebody can buy this meal kit and it would feature local products, right? Some were traditionally native foods, like we're featuring wild rice, but we're also featuring the local chefs and the local food producers that were involved. So, and I think to your point, Kelly, it's interesting. I got into farming when I was 23, right? And even then, so I'm 48 now, for full disclosure. But when I was 23, everyone said, "Well, this is the tide's been turning my whole life, so that's okay. I'm cool with that." There is a little something, I don't know what. I will remark on this in terms of like lifestyles and food and people looking to eat healthier, may source local, eat more whole foods. I do think that one great thing in terms of those that we see at the co-op, right, we always talk about, hey, here we are in America and we all hate each other, right? The co-op is one of those places where it's like people who are uber conservative and uber liberal are in the same location. That's kind of a neat thing, right? Whether you like it, whatever you think about RFK Jr., the whole Maha thing, right? There's a lot of like homeschooling mamas that are all about that. Traditionally, co-ops have been a bunch of Subaru driving liberals, right? That's the vast majority of co-op shoppers traditionally. And I like the big tent thing. It's where if you are like the really uber conservative, the guy that wears the freedom shirt all day long, you are welcome here at MANNA. We love to have you just as much as a Subaru driving liberal, right? And that is our clientele. And that is representative of our community. So it is kind of a neat thing that I don't know, maybe if you're just watching a lot of YouTube videos now about eating healthier and all that, whatever. Whatever's influencing it, I don't know, but there certainly is something afoot that goes across that political spectrum.
Yeah.
And so I think that's this one place where it's like, maybe we don't all hate one another, we can all agree on this one, right? We can all agree that, good food is good. All right, that's good. I don't care your political persuasion or your lifestyle, doesn't matter. That's a net positive, right? And all those people can rub shoulders right here.
Yeah, I'd say like after the pandemic or during the pandemic, that kind of happens, right? We saw people more on the conservative, and we were getting more customers. We were getting more people aware of local foods, and like I was saying, we're riding that opportunity wave from that pandemic moment still, I think, and it's still an opportunity. I'd say it's still also an opportunity to keep telling the stories, keep showing our pictures, photographs, taking more. Doing more marketing outreach. So if you have ideas as well, like video, storytelling, that would be great. Collaboration. I think that's something that we just like. That's something about like from what Kelly was saying. I think from the standpoint you're saying it is in my mind is an outreach marketing, almost telling the story. But it's such a deep and important aspect of. Who we are. Like we know who we are. We know we're getting the producers in, but you always have to be doing that. And I think part of what we've done a little bit better in the last few years, we hired Casey Broadshow. She's been helping get stuff out on Facebook, pictures. So I don't know if you've noticed, like the last few years, we've gotten a lot more out pictures and telling about the products and some recipes and stuff like that. But if you have other ideas other than Facebook and other ways to share. Be open to hearing about those ideas and collaborate potentially.
It's a hard question.
I just wanted to point out a couple of features. They now have filtered water in the back. And if you ever have a recipe and you need 1 tablespoon of a spice you've never heard of, they probably have it here and you can get 1 tablespoon.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's Ethan back there. I don't know if you want to wave or anything, but he's a part from the Boys and Girls Club, a collaboration we're working together with, and then also even tying in University of Minnesota Extension. There's going to be a grad student, Marie helping Ethan and doing some of that outreach and talking about the what the students are up to.
What are hydroponically growing right there? What are those things? That hydroponic? Yeah, you'll have lettuce grown there, and that'll be sold here. Won't that be neat? Right. So there we go. Very good. Lay it on us. Hard question.
I wanted to get back to the prices thing that you started bringing up, because I'm always astonished at, I'm like, okay, I'm going to the co-op and I'm gonna go spend like $40 more to make the pasta dish, and then I don't actually. I think your marinara sauce is the same price as it would be at Walmart or the other grocery stores. How do you guys keep your prices so affordable?
You know that answer.
Infra. Okay, so there's this group called Infra. Check them out. So they're great. They've got really amazing conferences too in Minneapolis we get to and see all the different products. But basically, Infra is a co-op, and they'll buy, and they're, as you get, bigger, you get prices down, right? And then since Infra is a co-op of independent natural food retailers, so other small grocery stores, so our other co-ops had this option of bulk buying through natural grocers. And at the moment we were thinking about joining a club like that, we were a little bit under $1 million in sales, or we were a lot under $1 million in sales, and we weren't able to get in. So with the Infra group, they were supporting small stores. So there's a store in Monaga, Clean Plate. So he was part of Infra, Dutchman Organics is part of Infra. So it was kind of speckled around, but they're on this growth trajectory that's insane right now. And they're actually taking a lot of what I think Amazon is doing, from what I'm hearing. They're doing a lot of the online sales. So there's a lot of opportunity, there was a lot of opportunity for this group basically to bulk buy natural foods. And since they're a co-op of grocers, we were actually the first co-op store to enter Infra. And just by pestering them, why not a co-op, why not a co-op, calling them up every month. And then eventually Pat Sheridan, the president, I got to chat with him at the last conference. He's like, yeah. He's like, I kind of helped push that through also, because yeah, why not? So they're getting more co-ops now, and the Brainerd co-op, Crowing, is also in Infra. So basically it's a sales promotion program. Ryan knows way more of the details because you're dealing with it every day.
Yeah, this long story short is, one principle, you don't mind that. One principle of cooperatives, all co-ops, whether it's a farm co-op or whatever, there's 7 principles. One principle is called cooperation among cooperatives, right? So it's all for one and one for all. But yeah, that's the dirty secret about grocery, or basically any buying, right? The bigger you are, the cheaper it gets. So by us being part of the cooperative, the Infra Buying Cooperative, we are our wholesaler's second largest customer. And so we, otherwise every day everyone's like, why is it cheaper at Target? You're gouging me. No, actually, Target gets it cheaper to begin with. Right, so.
So
Okay.
how can we as a community to support you? How can we as a community support you?
How as a community can you support us? Well, it's walk on in and buy whatever your favorite thing that you like to buy. I don't know. Yeah, number 2 is become a member, right? Who here is, I think most of you already are members. Raise your hand. Come on, that's a little pride. We're members. That's good.
Hopefully we don't shame you if you're
Not shame you.
Well, maybe it's good. Good shame. But we're doing a member drive right now. You get a sweatshirt if you join, one-time offer only. So if you've been thinking about it, it's like the NPR thing, right? Become a member today, and really own a part of your local community of stores here. So it's $150 lifetime membership, produce 10% off, and then you get to, have the bragging rights and have your friends over and say yeah, I own a business in town. I also own a business in Minneapolis. I own, partly a Seward co-op. You could be members of multiple co-ops, but that would be what we're doing right now, member drive, join as a member would be the best, and then, learn about how you could be more engaged. Like Ryan was saying, it's a spectrum, so maybe eventually you're starting a garden and wanting to can your own products or whatnot, or maybe it's something else. But whatever excites you, whatever is passionate for you to be in collaboration. We're open, we're adaptable. So I think that's another unique quality of the co-op is like the members vote for the board members every year, and then the board members have terms. So it's like we're adapting with the times. We're not just like one president forever, right? We're moving, and as a democracy, constantly listening to the member owners with the votes. And basically, the way the co-op works, as you probably already know, but we'll have a vote for board members in like December to January. New board members join, and then they have terms, and you could run for offices from there. But then
Run for office.
yeah, and then the board hires general managers, so that's Ryan and Mari, and then they're running like everything in the store. So that's kind of the way it works.
Awesome, thank you. Well, thank you everyone for coming out to Deep Dive DL. We'll see you at the next one, December 12th at Bucks Mill with Val Voigt and Jill Fullerick.
And I have one thing.
Oh,
And I have one thing to add. I think there's a couple takeaways from this morning that I want to remind you all of. 'Tis the holiday season. You're doing a lot of cooking, a lot of baking. Think about coming to MANNA and buying your groceries here and seeing what you can do with the wonderful food that they have here. And the other takeaway is the Homes Art Show is going on right now. So you can pop over there and get some real art to bring home to your family and as gifts. And also think about local. Whenever you're buying anything, think local, because you can see the big difference it makes in our community. It's so, so vastly important. And then two other things real quick. Hans brought up the Ice Palace. How cool would that be to bring that back?
Yes.
But we cannot do it. We cannot do it unless we have some generals. So think about who can help build an Ice Palace. Who could help actually make that happen? Think about that for the future. And then the other thing is, there's an open lot right over there. Think about that. What could that become? Share your ideas with us and help us make some big things happen here in Detroit Lakes. Again, huge shout out to Hans Gilsdorf and Zach and Ryan and Sarah. Thank you for being here today. Have a great day, everyone.